It looks like Tommy Robinson is going to be entering mainstream politics by joining...
Yeah? And most people would say reform. Unfortunately, I don't see Nigel Farage as an option. I see Nigel Farage's speeches about preparing ourselves for the 2050 demographical change of Islamic community in this country, and that we have to make peace with Islam. I thought I'd put out a video about Advance UK, make a few things clear. I want to let people know why I joined, but also to make it clear, it's not my party, okay? I'm not running it. I don't want to be involved in party politics, if I'm honest. I'm just a member amongst tens of...
Farage's masterstroke. How Tommy Robinson just handed Reform UK the keys to power. Right, let's cut through the noise, because what you are about to hear will fundamentally change how you view British politics. Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, two men who have spent years circling each other like wary prize-fighters, have just executed what might be the most brilliant political maneuver of the decade. And before the legacy media even realizes what has happened, Reform UK could be positioning itself not as a fringe movement, but as Britain's next governing party. This is not reconciliation in the traditional sense. This is something far more sophisticated, far more calculated, and infinitely more dangerous to the established order. Welcome to British Coffers, and if you are not already subscribed, do it now. We are the only channel telling you what is actually happening whilst everyone else peddles comfortable lies. Hit that subscribe button before we go any further, because this one moves fast. Now, Tommy Robinson has joined a rival party, one that publicly criticizes Farage. On the surface, this looks like a split, a rejection, perhaps even a betrayal. The mainstream press is celebrating, convinced this represents Reform UK's ceiling being firmly established. They are wrong. Spectacularly, embarrassingly wrong. What we are witnessing is not division, it is the most elegant political theatre Britain has seen in decades. Two men, both pilloried by the establishment, both written off as extremists, have just created the perfect ideological spectrum that captures every single voter who feels abandoned by modern Britain. And they have done it without a single coordinated meeting, without any formal alliance, simply by understanding the game better than everyone else playing it. For years, Farage has been haunted by one question that would not die: what is your relationship with Tommy Robinson? It has been the albatross around his neck, the gotcha moment in every serious interview, the weapon opponents wielded whenever Reform tried positioning itself as a legitimate political force. Every policy discussion derailed. Every attempt at respectability undermined. Every advance into middle-class territory blocked by that single, recurring question. Robinson represents something undeniably powerful in British politics. He is authentic working-class anger personified. The former EDL leader, the man who makes polite society clutch its pearls, commands a devoted following that many professional politicians would frankly kill for. His supporters are not casual voters. They are true believers, people who see him as the only voice willing to speak uncomfortable truths whilst everyone else performatively wrings their hands. But here is the brilliant bit, the part the commentariat has not grasped yet. Robinson joining a different party does not diminish his influence, it amplifies it, while simultaneously liberating Farage. If you are finding this analysis useful, British Coffers is where this conversation lives. Subscribe now and make sure you never miss what is coming next, because this story is moving faster than any newsroom is willing to admit. Reform UK's base has always been far more nuanced than the simple far-right protest vote narrative the establishment peddles. The core is furious ex-conservatives, working-class and lower-middle-class voters who feel abandoned, ignored, frankly betrayed by a conservative party that promised them control and delivered chaos. These are not extremists. They hold perfectly mainstream views, just deeply unfashionable ones. Controlled immigration. Law and order. Britain feeling like Britain again. Standard conservative principles that somehow became controversial simply by being spoken aloud. But within Reform, there has always been a vocal faction pushing for Robinson to be brought inside the tent. And you can understand why Farage found that prospect terrifying. Robinson is not just controversial, he is a massive personality with followers arguably more devoted to him than Farage's own supporters. Bringing him into Reform would have been catastrophic. The party would have become utterly unmanageable, dominated by Robinson's gravitational pull, unable to expand beyond its existing base, perpetually trapped in the same demographic corner. Now Robinson is elsewhere, publicly criticizing Farage, aligned with a rival who openly attacks Reform's leader. The question is answered. The relationship is settled. The endless speculation is finished. But this is where it gets properly interesting, where the real genius reveals itself. This does not just answer the Robinson question. It allows Farage to create clear blue water between Reform UK and anything the establishment can credibly label as hard right, while simultaneously ensuring those voters have somewhere to go, somewhere that keeps them engaged in the political process rather than dissolving into disillusionment entirely. Reform is at a critical juncture. They are no longer content being a protest party. They want actual power. They want to govern. That means growing support from the high 20s and low 30s in the polls upward, consistently, well beyond. That requires winning new voters without alienating the base, and that is an extraordinarily difficult tightrope to walk. One wrong step and you lose the very people who built the movement. One step too few and you never reach the people who could complete it. Stay with British Coffers. Subscribe if you have not already, because we are tracking this transformation in real time, every single day, without fear or favor. Reform has already captured much of the white working class vote. They are going to dominate that demographic completely within months. The affluent working class is on board. Even poorer working class voters who still back Labour for economic reasons are slowly shifting, recognizing that Labour's middle-class metropolitan leadership has no genuine interest in their concerns and never did. The language might be different. The flag-waving might be there. But the policies tell a different story, and ordinary people are starting to read it. But there is a ceiling, and Farage knows it better than anyone. Roughly a third of the British electorate would never vote Reform under any circumstances. Your middle class, pro-Remain, Guardian-reading liberals who view populism as civilization's gravest ongoing threat. Farage knows he will never get them. He is not even trying. He has made his peace with that particular demographic. They were never the destination. The real prize, the voters who could push reform into genuinely competitive governing territory, are the establishment conservatives. Older, middle-class, self-consciously respectable people who believe in a certain way of doing politics. Proper. Decent. Worried about standards. They find populism distasteful, deeply suspicious of anything that upends Britain's political norms, and these people are absolutely horrified by Tommy Robinson. If working-class voters see Robinson as one of their own, rough around the edges perhaps but authentic, these middle-class conservatives see him as everything wrong with modern politics. Uncouth, extreme, dangerous. They have always suspected Farage might secretly harbour those same tendencies, that underneath the pinstripes and the pints he is really just Tommy Robinson.
A night of triumph for the UK's right-wing
now
Reform
Robinson is
Party.
visibly elsewhere,
Every one of
openly
you
at
who
odds with
voted for
Farage.
change,
The distinction
winning
is
the
crystal
parliamentary
clear.
seat
Farage
of
can
Runcorn and
legitimately
Helsby
claim he
from the
represents
ruling
mainstream
Labour Party
conservatism,
in a
perhaps the
by-election
Conservative
triggered
Party
after
of
the
Thatcher's
sitting
era,
MP
with a modern
punched a
edge,
constituent.
whilst Robinson
It was the
represents something
thinnest of
altogether
margins,
different.
just 6
That is
votes,
not Fair
but
Eye's
one
world.
obliterating
That is not
a majority
Reform's
of
world.
15,000
The distance
that
between them
Labour
is now
got in the general
institutional,
election just
structural,
last year.
and entirely
The
impossible
result
to dismiss.
reflecting a surge of
Subscribe to
votes for
British Coffers
reform
if you want
in
to
England's
understand where
local
British
elections.
politics is actually heading,
This is
not where the
phenomenal.
BBC would
We've
prefer
got
it to
swings
go.
going on
This matters enormously
towards
because
reform.
those middle-class Tory
Massive
voters
swings
are not
from
satisfied
Conservatives
with
in
the status
Staffordshire.
quo. They
Massive
are deeply
swings from
unhappy,
Labour happening in
disappointed
Doncaster,
with the Conservative
happening,
Party's slow surrender to
right
progressive
here
orthodoxy,
in one of their
its
safest
gradual
seats in the
hollowing out of
country.
principles it once held
Wins
with
on
genuine
a local
conviction.
level come
They
with
may
real
not be as
power.
Eurosceptic as
Councils
Reform's
are in
core
charge
base,
of multi-million
not quite as
pound
exercised
budgets
about
and
immigration numbers in
services
the
like
abstract,
managing schools,
but they absolutely
maintaining
agree
roads
Britain
and
is in a
collecting
dreadful
waste.
state.
And
They care
even where
intensely
reform
about law
didn't
and
win,
order,
it
about
came
a
close,
rules-based society,
coming up
about
just over
maintaining
700
standards that
votes
once
short
felt
in the
permanent
mayoral
and now
race
feel
in
precarious.
Doncaster, a Labour
Reform's tough on
heartland.
crime message
Well, listen
resonates
to us,
powerfully
Mark,
with
with
them,
the homeless,
but they needed
where the
reassurance.
council at minute with
They
Labour,
needed to know
we
that
just put
voting
it away.
reform would not mean
And then
enabling
the
something
reform,
genuinely
listen,
extreme,
when
something
Labour
shattering
don't.
the Britain they still
We want
recognise
some kind
and
of a
still
change.
love. Robinson's positioning elsewhere provides
to set
exactly
up a
that
new
reassurance.
reform party.
Not through spin,
We'll see how they
not
go.
through Farage standing at a
Voters
podium
seem
issuing
willing to
carefully
try
worded
something
denials,
new.
but through the visible, undeniable, institutionally confirmed fact of separation. That is a far more powerful statement than any press release could ever be. Meanwhile, Robinson's new political home ensures that voters who want something harder, something uncompromising, are not lost to apathy. They stay engaged. They stay active. And crucially, they create pressure from the right that makes reform look moderate by comparison. That is the oldest trick in political positioning, and it is devastatingly effective every single time it is deployed. It is political triangulation at its absolute finest. Farage can position reform as the sensible centre-right option, the party for people who want controlled immigration without radicalism, who want law and order without extremism, who want their country back without revolution. And every time someone points to Robinson as evidence of dangerous right-wing sentiment, Farage can simply gesture at the gap between them, the public disagreements, the different parties, the undeniable institutional distance. Make sure you are subscribed to British Coffers, because we are going to track exactly how this reshapes the entire political landscape, constituency by constituency, poll by poll. The establishment has spent years warning that ignoring legitimate concerns about immigration, identity, and national sovereignty would create space for something genuinely dangerous. Farage has spent his career arguing that he represents the sensible outlet for those grievances, the pressure valve that keeps British politics within recognizable democratic bounds. Now, with Robinson visibly positioned elsewhere, that argument becomes infinitely more credible. Middle-class Tories look at the landscape and see three options: continue supporting a Conservative Party that has delivered nothing but disappointment for the better part of a decade, waste votes on Liberal Democrats who represent everything they fundamentally oppose, or take a genuine chance on reform, which now looks distinctly more respectable, carrying undeniable and public distance from Robinson.